Hi friends, welcome to Anna with Plants. My name is Anastasia. Today we're going to talk about hoyas, specifically 10 hoya that you should have in your collection. Now these hoyas that I'm choosing to include aren't necessarily groundbreaking. They aren't exactly common, so it's not like you're gonna be able to find them at a big box store, but they aren't exactly so rare that you need to go to a private collector. So if you're new to hoya, this will be a nice introduction to some interesting hoya, and if you're an avid collector of hoya, chances are you're gonna have most, if not all, of these hoya already in your collection, which if that's the case, then I hope you just enjoy to look at pretty plants because these certainly are very pretty. We're just gonna hop into it. These are in no particular order too. We're just gonna start off with the two that are behind me right here. So let me grab one of them. This guy right here is a Hoya chinghungensis. Again, if I mispronounce any of these names, I'm super sorry. I'm not a super avid hoya collector myself, and hoya names can be very tricky. Really fast grower. I got this plant maybe a fourth of this size, not even a year ago. It is doing a really weird thing. It's like growing two vines down here. It's kind of like man spreading, which I'm not in love with, so I might cut these and prop them up top. This hoya looks really stunning hanging as well. You can find this hoya in a lot of cutting boxes on Etsy. Let me get you guys up close here. So this hoya is not exactly fuzzy, but the undersides definitely have some pubescence. I think that's what the hoya people like to call. Oh, and there goes one. And it loves to grow in a trailing pattern here. Depending on your growing conditions, the nodes might grow in more compact. This was one of the original vines I got, and as you can see, the internodal spacing is very short. In my conditions, the nodes kind of grow a little bit longer. Also, depending on your growing conditions, the leaves can either be pretty thick or the leaves can be a little bit thin as well. It can grow in a variety of substrates. Right now I have mine in leca, and it really does need a repot. Look at all those roots down at the bottom. I've owned this hoya for a little bit under a year now, and it's really given me no troubles whatsoever, and I think it would be a really great addition to any collection. The next hoya we have here, I bet a lot of you guys already know what this one is. It's been making the rounds here on Plant YouTube. This is a Hoya linearis. It is another very stunning trailing hoya. Mine is finally growing well. I got this as a pretty large pot and it just never really grew right in soil for me. So I propped a lot of leaves and I just potted them up into, this is mainly my chunky pond mix right here. And it's been growing a lot better. This is also a very fast grower. It was definitely not this long. The leaves also are a little furry. Yeah, this is my Hoya linearis. The Hoya bella, that's gonna be the next hoya I talk about. There are a lot of varieties of Hoya bella. The one that I own is the inner variegated, or I believe it's called the lida buis, but this one is super pretty in my humble opinion. It's the prettiest of all of the varieties, definitely the most striking. The new leaves come in this light pink color, which is stunning, and they fade down to a lime green with a darker green edge. Mine's a little bit on the smaller side, but it does grow quite quickly. There's also an outer variegated version, which I did used to have. In my opinion, the outer variegated did grow a lot quicker, as well as the green form also does grow pretty quickly. My green form and my outer variegated are no longer with us. Of all the hoyas I own, they are more prone to spider mites. Both the green form and the outer variegated did get spider mites, and I just ended up tossing them. It was a pretty bad infestation, just a little bit more trouble than it was worth, but I still have the inner variegated and I keep a watchful eye on it. It wouldn't be a hoya video without throwing a lacunosa in there. I do own quite a bit of lacunosa, not the most, definitely people out there that own way more lacunosa than I do, but this one is probably my favorite. This is the Hoya lacunosa mint coin. Of all the varieties of silver lacunosa out there. I feel like this one is the one that you need to get. Sometimes it's really hard to pick through them, and a lot of them look kind of the same. There's honestly new ones coming out all the time. It grows really well. It did take a while to take to pond when I transferred it out of soil, but after it got established, the growth just took off, and I've just been kind of wrapping the new vines around this trellis that I have it on here. I got this one in August of 2023. It was not this big at all. I just really love it. The leaves are also super unique. They come in very round and they have these darker green dots on them. Keeping in the silver vein, I'm gonna talk about the Mathilde. It kind of has a lot of different names. This is Mathilde Splash. If it's really silver, it can be called a Mathilde Silver. So I have two of these. One I got as a splash, but then it started to grow some pretty silvery leaves, which I think I'm gonna cut off and plant into this one. And my plans is to trellis this one up on a circle trellis. I think that'll look really pretty. Mathildes are pretty common. I think they might even be in the big box stores as the green form. A lot of people probably own a Mathilde at this point, and you know that it's really easygoing. You can leave it to dry out a lot and it'll be completely fine. The splashy variety and the silver variety are no exception to this rule. Hoya Mathilde Splash or Hoya Mathilde Silver is one that you should definitely add to your collection. A couple cuttings of this did take me quite a while to track down, but it is definitely worth the wait, in my opinion. It wouldn't really be a top 10 Hoya video without adding a Hoya with really good veination, in my opinion. It's gonna be the Hoya SP Sabah. I will write down the exact number of it because I did receive this plant from Unsolicited Plant Talks. I actually unboxed this Hoya as my first YouTube upload. It has since grown a lot of leaves, and the leaves have been honestly massive. Like, look at this leaf right here. It is fully the size of my hand. And when it came in, it was this like beautiful purpley red color, kind of like this one here a little bit. I did pot this up into a little bit of a different substrate this time. I put it in tree fern because I wanted to test tree fern and Hoya together, and as you can see, it took to it just fine. I find this one definitely does like to stay more on the damp side than the other Hoyas. It has super pretty veins, it sun stresses beautifully. There isn't really much else to say about this one other than get it. Just get it. Let's talk about fishtail Hoya. Okay, I have two varieties right here. This is Hoya polyneura broguette. This is also called the splashy polyneura, but I believe most know it as the broguette. And this is the Hoya polyneura outer variegated, which is also super pretty as well. There is a green form out there, and there is also an inner variegated too. Right now, the inner variegated is pretty pricey. I definitely want one down the road, but I can't really justify spending, I think right now it's going for like $200 for a one node cutting. I know the prices are gonna come down because this Hoya grows like a weed. I got this one as a one node 2-leaf cutting, and as you can see, it has grown so much. What this Hoya likes to do is grow out in a branch, and then after it gets a particular amount of leaves on it, it'll stop with that branch and it'll start a new shoot at the top, or sometimes it'll shoot out from the side near the top. So this is one that's good to kind of mount on a wall or kind of have it back in a corner where you can kind of get the full effect of it because the growth pattern is very cool. I think not all of the varieties grow as easily. I never had the green form, but I'm sure that will probably be the easiest. The broguette is very, very easy. The inner variegated is a little tricky. When I first got this Hoya, there are two different plants in here. So there's one cutting here and then another cutting here. This cutting grew all these leaves quite quickly and began to branch out. And then this one kind of stopped, and then all of the branches stopped. So I'm guessing it's probably a root issue, because as I feel the leaves, they feel a little bit flimsy. It's kind of weird because I do see some good roots growing too, so I'm gonna have to diagnose exactly what's going on here. But regardless, the Hoya polyneura is one to get. Moving on though, let's talk about the one right in front of me right here. Look how stunning she is. Like, does she really need an introduction? She is just such a beauty. Anyway, this is the Hoya heuschkeliana, inner variegated. No words, right? Like, do I need to explain why people need this Hoya? No, I don't think so. I have two varieties of this one. I'll show you the other one next because it's blooming. This is just pure foliage. The blooms on this Hoya is never really super impressive. I think people get it just for the foliage, and you can see why. Really fast grower. I think of all the Hoya I showed you, this one grows the fastest. When I got this, it was a small plant, but definitely not this big or this bushy or full. It is a beast. And I don't really know what to do with it at this point. I'm just kind of letting it trail, but a lot of people put it on a trellis, so that also looks really cute too. The new growth comes in a darling pink color. It's also pretty available because it grows so fast. It is fairly easy to get your hands on. Let me show you the outer variegated real quick. This is the outer variegated one. It's not as big because I don't think I've had it quite as long as the inner variegated. It is full of peduncles. Let me show you what a bloom looks like here. It's a cute little bell-shaped flower. I don't think it has a smell. Definitely more understated than the inner variegated, but regardless of which one you're gonna pick up, I think they are pretty unique Hoyas. Hoya heuschkeliana. Next up is the pandurata. The variety I have here is called Vietnam. It is mildly splashy. Some of the leaves can get pretty splashy, but I didn't buy it as a pandurata splash. Let me show you my favorite set of leaves though. Right here. Look how pretty that is. Really, really stunning. Hasn't bloomed for me yet. Has the same kind of growth pattern that the Hoya polyneura does. It has these long vines that come out and branch, and then eventually it starts growing off the top like so. Very fast grower. I have noticed this one is more thirsty. I definitely water this Hoya a lot more often than the other Hoya as well. The Hoya polyneura also is another quite thirsty one. You can tell just by the leaves and the feel of them that it's time for a drink for this Hoya. I've had no issues with it. I got it as a 2-leaf cutting. These are the original leaves it came with. As you can see, is it gonna focus? As you can see, they were not quite as splashy, and then the more splashy leaves started to grow. Could be conditions, could be maybe genetics, I'm not quite sure. There are quite a few varieties out there. I think there's just a normal green pandurata, there's the dark form, and then there's a splashy form, which is more splashy than this one is, and then there's the silver. I really want to get the silver. Cuttings for that one right now I think are going like for 100 per 2 leaf cuttings, so I might hold out a little bit until the price drops below 100 per cutting. Yeah, it's just, as you can see, why people love this Hoya. I think it really is an up and coming one in 2024. I didn't really hear too much about it in the beginning of 2023. If you don't have a pandurata, I highly recommend. This is the Hoya gunung gading. This one is another very talked about plant, so a lot of you might have heard about it already, but it has all of the goodness that we love, has the veination, and it has beautiful sun stressing. Look how sun stressed that leaf is. This is how it looks like when it's sun stressed, and then the green form is also super pretty as well. So you can kind of choose your adventure with this Hoya. It did take a little bit of time to establish and start growing, but after it did, it really gave me no problems. It does like to grow new offshoots quite often, so that's kind of why there's a bit more growth up here. But it also did give me this nice big leaf down here as well. So I have it on a clear trellis. A lot of people do tend to trellis this Hoya. It's also growing in pond. Definitely time for a repot down the road. Just another very pretty Hoya that I think a lot of people would be glad to have in their collection. So I know we talked about 10 Hoyas already, but I'm gonna cheat a little and I'm gonna add an honorable mention. This isn't quite on the list because I think it leans more to the rare side. I really haven't seen a cutting of this Hoya really sold anywhere. I've only really noticed it on one place, and that's UPT, where I ordered it from, and that is the Hoya AH049. If you want to look, oh, it's backwards. That would be helpful. So if you want to look at the size I got it as a pretty decent established plant, but if you want to see the exact size, it's in the UPT unboxing on my channel. I just had to add it in because I think it's such an underrated Hoya. I never hear it talked about, maybe because it's harder to get. It is a very fast grower. I transferred it to pond a few months ago and it is already rooting very well. It's not really one to sun stress, but the leaves have great veination. It's not quite understated. They have a little bit of splash to them. They're a bit shiny, very smooth to the touch, and they can also get quite large. Like this leaf is pretty huge. The one thing that I will say about it is it's pretty prone to edema. So edema is basically just when it goes through a period of drought and then you water it quite quickly, it'll do this thing where you'll get like these black dots on the backs of the leaves. But once the leaf grows and hardens, it's not as noticeable. Yeah, I think more people need to add it to their collection. So this is my honorable mention. All right, guys, I'm overheating. It is a bit of a warmer day here. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you got some ideas on some Hoyas that you might want to add to your collection. If not, all good. If there's a Hoya in this list that I did not include that you think people should have in their collection, please comment down below because I would love to hear what your favorite Hoya is. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day and I will see you in the next one. Bye.